Konnichiwa. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Deep Dive, the show where we take perfectly innocent topics and, overthink them until even your smartest nerd friend says, okay, dude, calm down, yeah? I'm your host, yes, still human-shaped, still caffeinated, and today we're going to talk about something truly magical, the first handheld digital camera, a device so revolutionary, so groundbreaking, so ahead of its time that Kodak basically looked at it and said, looks kind of expensive, maybe next life. It's like inventing sushi in the Stone Age and everyone saying, raw fish, too crazy, pass. So grab your tea, your sake, your 3-week-old leftover pizza, whatever fuels your soul, and let's get the show rolling, ne? Okay, so picture this. It's 1975. Bell-bottoms are everywhere, disco is refusing to die, and Eastman Kodak is the absolute king of photography. I mean, their slogan, "You push the button, we do the rest," wasn't just some clever marketing line. It was the truth. They owned the film, the paper, the chemicals, the whole shebang. If you took a picture in the 70s, chances are Kodak had its fingerprints all over it. And right into the middle of this empire walks our guy, a 23-year-old engineer named Steve Sasson. And really, this whole story is about a culture clash of epic proportions. On one side, you've got Steve Sasson. This guy grew up watching Star Trek and thought the whole process of developing film with chemicals was, and I quote, really annoying. He wanted to capture an image electronically. Then, on the other side, you have Kodak itself, a massive kingdom of mechanical engineers and chemists whose entire world revolved around selling film. It was the ultimate innovator versus the immovable object situation. And here's the best part. This whole world-changing invention, it didn't start with some grand vision. Nope, it began as a side quest, a filler job. Sasson's supervisor literally came to him and said, look, I've got a couple of things to keep you busy until we find something really useful for you to do. One of those jobs was to just, take a look at some newfangled circuit, just to keep the new guy out of trouble. So what was this little circuit? It was the Charge-Coupled Device, or CCD. And when Sasson looked at it, he had this incredible aha moment. He realized he could build a camera with absolutely no moving parts. Now, you gotta understand, for a company like Kodak, which was built on the beautiful, complex mechanics of film cameras, a camera with no moving parts wasn't just a curiosity. It was a direct threat to everything their best engineers knew how to do. So with no budget and no official project, what does he do? He becomes a master scavenger. He later said, I basically stole all the parts. Seriously. He grabbed a lens from a used parts bin, pulled a converter out of a super cheap voltmeter, and used a regular old audio cassette for storage. The result was this incredible Frankenstein's monster of electronics, a true testament to building the future with whatever you can find lying around. And the finished prototype was a beast. It weighed a solid 8 pounds. Just try to imagine carrying around a small watermelon or a toaster with a lens glued to it. It was technically portable, but just barely. This thing was not a sleek gadget. It was a clunky, beautiful proof of concept held together with spare parts and pure grit. So by December 75, after a year of tinkering, it's go time. Sasson grabs his toaster camera, walks down the hall, and finds a lab technician named Joy Marshall who agrees to be his test subject. He aims, clicks, and captures an image in a fraction of a second. The moment of truth had finally arrived. After 23 agonizingly long seconds of the camera writing data to that cassette tape, they finally played it back on a TV monitor, which, by the way, he'd also stolen from another lab. And there it was, the world's first digital photograph. A 0.01 megapixel black and white image. Her face was a total blur, but you could make out her hair. It was beautiful, crisp potato quality. But it worked. They had done it. But what about Joy Marshall, the subject of this historic photo? She comes over to the lab to see the result, takes one look at her distorted electronic face on the screen, and delivers her 2-word verdict before turning around and walking away. It might be the greatest deadpan reaction to witnessing history ever. Okay, so the lab geeks are convinced. But now for the real test, showing this thing to management. The process was always the same. He'd take a picture of a manager, wait that awkward 23 seconds for it to save, and then pop the tape into the player. Sasson said the moment that grainy black and white face appeared on the TV, he lost complete control of every single meeting. See, the managers weren't asking how he did it. They just kept asking why. Their entire universe was built on film and prints. This filmless, printless contraption didn't just confuse them, it was an attack on their whole business model. They couldn't see the future. All they could see was what was wrong with the present. It's like discovering time travel, and your boss just asks, okay, but does it come in beige? You can just imagine the conversation. One manager literally did the math right there in the meeting. He was like, okay, wait, a regular Kodak camera costs $35, and the pictures look great. Your machine costs over $1,000, and the pictures look like garbage. Why are we even talking about this? They were completely missing the point that technology gets better and cheaper. All right, Minasan, quick break before I roast Kodak a little more, eh? If you're enjoying this nerdy chaos, do me one favor. Subscribe, leave a review, give it 5 stars. Yes, even if you think it deserves only 3. Be generous. Be like Japanese omotenashi, but for podcast ratings. Every review helps convince the algorithm gods that I am not shouting into the void, even though, let's be honest, sometimes I totally am. Okay, back to our scheduled programming, aka digital camera history no one asked for, but you're getting anyway. So after batting away all the why would anyone want this questions, there was one thing the execs kept coming back to. They wanted a timeline. They were trying to put this alien technology into a box they could understand. When, they asked, would this digital thing actually be a real product? Sasson was totally on the spot. He needed to give them a credible answer. So he remembered hearing about Moore's Law, the idea that computer chips get twice as powerful every couple of years. He had no idea if it applied here, but he did some quick mental math, took a wild guess, and told them between 15 and 20 years. And here's the absolutely wild part. He nailed it. Kodak's first actual consumer digital camera, the DC-40, came out in 1995. That's 18 years after his prediction. Sasson himself says it was complete luck, just a desperate guess to get the manager's off his back. But it ended up being one of the most stunningly accurate tech forecasts ever made. And this is where the story gets really ironic, and honestly, kind of sad. Kodak patented Sasson's invention in 1978. And get this, they made billions of dollars licensing that patent to other companies, the very same companies that would eventually put them out of business. Steve Sasson spent his whole career there working on digital tech, but Kodak never truly went all in. In 2012, on the verge of bankruptcy, they sold off the very patent portfolio that started the entire revolution. And that, my friends, is the saga of Steve Sasson, the man who invented the future while his company was too busy polishing their film reels to notice. Before we go, big shout out, massive, mega, mother of all shout outs to our producer FireflyHaku. Without Haku-san, this show would sound like a potato recorded on Sasson's prototype camera. He keeps the audio clean, the facts straight, and the host mostly civilized. Arigato ne, FireflyHaku-sensei. And thank you, dear listeners, for sticking around for another episode of Deep Dive, where we courageously explore the corners of history that nobody else bothers to dust. Until next time, stay curious, stay nerdy, and remember, if your boss laughs at your invention, congratulations, you're probably Steve Sasson.